Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of BuzzBook Expo. We're really excited. We have a great lineup of publishers talking about all kinds of cool things today. And we actually have an added guest. Apex is going to be joining us at the end of today at 3:30. So we will be making sure that we publicize the schedule as it's going on Twitter live, so people know what's going on. And we're really looking forward to it. Today, our schedule includes Bad Hound Books at 12:10, Apocrypha at 12:50, D&T Publishing at 1:30, Bleeding Edge Books at 2:10, and Madness Heart Press at 2:50. And then, as I mentioned, at 3:30, we will also be having Apex join us. So a little bit about BuzzBook Expo, in case you weren't here yesterday, just to give you a sense of what it is that we do and what our mission is. Basically, we wanted to create a fully online experience. Our goal, basically, is to give publishers from all over the world a chance to talk about their new horror releases for the upcoming year. Our focus is specifically on horror, but we consider this to include paranormal, supernatural thrillers, dark fantasy to an extent, as long as there's a horror slant to it, genre blends, and even nonfiction books about the horror genre. We would like to give a platform to diverse voices bringing new kinds of horror to readers through presentations, Q&As, interviews, readings, and the like. We'd also like to extend this to something international in upcoming years and try to get voices from all over the world talking about the horror books that are available to readers. And to ensure that the presentations by the publishers receive optimal visibility, we are delighted to have in our audience various media professionals in attendance. We have an extensive list of booksellers, librarians, book reviewers, podcasters, readers, people who love books and want to help spread the word about this year's upcoming horror releases. As you probably have guessed by now, attendance at BuzzBook Expo is free, and we welcome full participation from the audience during the event. We love questions. We welcome questions. We can pop them up on the screen, whether they're questions for us or they're questions for the publishers that are presenting something today. And if you have to log out for any reason, and you miss content that you want to see, these events are recorded and will appear on this channel, on the BuzzBook Expo channel, in the future. So you can see past BuzzBook Expos currently through our playlist, but you will. We're working on getting the files from last year uploaded so that all of the expos for past years and upcoming years will be in one place. Anything else? The other thing I wanted to mention, of course, because I couldn't have done this without my committee. I have Summer Cannon and Matt Wilderson here with me, and they are awesome. They are helping with the technical stuff, with monitoring things, asking questions. So by all means, if you have, Matt can say hi. And we could put Summer in too if she wants.
She's probably like, no.
No, she doesn't want to. But anyway, if you have any questions, I ask that you put them in the comment section and just tag them with the word question, because I want to make sure we don't miss anything. We don't miss anybody's questions or anything like that. So just, tag it question and then ask your question, and we will get your question to the person you're asking the question of. This morning's BuzzBook Expo is going to be starting with Bad Hound Books, as I mentioned. That will be coming up at 12:10. I wanted to make sure I have the right time. 12:10. And we'll be starting the expo officially with Rob Herrera from Bad Hound Books. In the meantime, we also have commercials and assorted other things where we'll pop in and talk about different things that the expo is doing and that we'd like to do in the future. I want to make sure I mention again today that Tor Nightfire is offering a giveaway of ARCs to the first 25 people that respond to us. that it is an ARC for The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. And if you email us at info@buzzbookexpo.com with your name and mailing address, we will get you on the list. It's a first come, first serve. The first 25 people that we hear from will get an ARC mailed to them from Catriona Ward, her book, The Last House on Needless Street. So all that being said, we're going to start in another 4 minutes. I'm going to bounce out of here, and I look forward to bringing you day 2 of BuzzBook Expo. Hi, folks. We're having a little bit of a delay here with Bad Hound Books. I'm sorry. Uh, we're going to give a few more minutes just in case there's some kind of technical issue, and we will get back to you very shortly. So hang in there, and we'll have goodies for you soon. Hi there, folks. While we're waiting, we'd like to show you some of the commercials that we've been getting for BuzzBook. Uh, in Basically, people have been doing really awesome jobs in sending commercials for their recent releases or their upcoming releases. So we're going to show you some of those while we're waiting for. Oh wait, hold on. We have Rob Herrera from Bad Hound Books. Thank goodness. Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring him into the stream. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Mary, I am awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here.
I
We're
am honored to be part of BuzzBook Day 2.
Well,
It's
thank
so
you.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, Rob's going to talk about his upcoming books. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comment section, tag them with questions, and we'll get them up so that Rob can answer them. I'm going to step out and give you the floor.
Mary, I'll see you later.
All right. See you later.
Cool. All right. So, hi. I'm Rob. I'm from Bad Hound Press. Last year, I was super prepared for my BuzzBook Expo, and I rattled on for like 45 minutes straight. This year, I'm completely unprepared. I have a very little prepared to talk about, so I'm going to wing it, and it's going to be good. But let me tell you, I do have a couple things to tell you, and these are cover reveals, and it's very exciting. The first thing you should know is last year we put out a book called Lord Teardrop, Dreams of the Sun. Now, This book is a spy thriller with a mad scientist in it. It's a very pulpy action adventure. I like to think of it almost like an Indiana Jones meets James Bond in a jungle with a mad scientist. Anyway, the important thing to know about Lord Teardrop is he has a new name. We've changed the book title to Black Operations. So if you go to Kindle and you look up Black Operations by G.T. Bram, you'll be able to find it. It's the same, how should I put it? New name, new cover, same 6 story inside. It's a great book, Black Operations by G.T. Bram. Very proud of that book. And we got a new cover for it. Let me see if I got this thing here. Here we go. I'll show it to you. Black Operations. It's similar cover to the last one, but it's got some new elements to it. You still got your saw, you got your guns, you got your skull, you got your dangerous needle full of dangerous chemicals. So yeah, Black Operations is a great book, up on Kindle now. Second thing I'd like to talk about, that's from G.T. Bram. Hey, other publishers, have you ever noticed that sometimes writers are a little bizarro and they like to change the titles of their books a lot? Well, that happens. But, writers, man, they're weird. Okay, so the next weird writer I want to talk about is C.L. Holmes. Clifton Holmes. He's been putting out these amazing series called Emelina. And, well, let me back up. The series itself is called The Count at Play and Slaughter. And it's really a gothic vampire tale, but told in a very unique way. He's got 3 volumes of this series out so far, Clifton. They are Emelina and the Secrets of the Wailing Castle. That's the first book. Basically, Emelina is a girl in a village somewhere in Middle Ages Europe, and she is captured by the Count and taken to her castle. Second volume, Emelina and the Palace of Pleasure. The Count starts to assemble a harem of Dracula's brides, kind of thing. So Emelina travels all over Europe, meeting with different princesses from different countries. It's very interesting. That particular volume, Emelina and the Palace of Pleasure, that one reminds me a lot of like a Beauty and the Beast. Emelina spends a lot of time in this massive library inside the castle. Anyway, amazing. And then the third volume so far is Emelina and the Midnight Gift. Now, in this one, there's an army kind of amassing against the Count behind the scenes. Also, the Count encounters another massive vampire creature that he does battle with in this one. And it's almost like the ending battle is almost like something you see in a Marvel movie you read about. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Details. Good book. You're like, anyway, all 3 of those are up for $1 each on Amazon. And coming out, this is what we're talking about now. Coming out in the next year will be volumes 4 and 5 of The Count at Play and Slaughter. And it's amazing conclusion to this series. Clifton's finished it up. I'm pretty sure we're going to break into 2 books. I think book 4 is going to be called The Brocade Army. And basically, the Count is slowly starting to turn his harem of princesses into an army of the undead brides, which is fine, but you know how it is when you got a castle full of women. The Count has some problems. the women react differently to being turned into members of the undead. Some of them are very shrinking flowers about it. They can't get out of bed. Other ones are uh, embrace it. Other ones are a little too into it. He's got one princess who likes to strip naked and hunt bears in the woods. So, everybody reacts a little differently. It's almost like a vaccine. Everybody reacts differently to how vampirism infects them. So slowly, in the Brocade Army, the account will be forming his harem of brides. Now, the Silver Army. This would be Volume 5 of this series, Account to Play and Slaughter. Again, the Attila, the Low Constable from the early volumes of this series, has put together another army, the Silver Army. And evidently, silver is like kryptonite to the Count. What's interesting in this series to me is that Cliff does a lot of interesting things with the vampire tropes, right? Silver is a kryptonite for this vampire. Crosses, not so much. Garlic, a little bit. For instance, here's something that makes this series unique among vampire fiction. The Count has to deal with a castle full of women who are menstruating. So, and as a vampire, this makes him a little crazy. So he's able to use his chemistry set and some interesting ingredients to make a medicine that these women take that either stops their period or alters it in some way so that they can live harmoniously with their vampire master. Have you ever seen that before in vampire fiction? I think not. So yes, to me that's very interesting. Cliff does a great job. These books, like the atmosphere of the book, is almost like a Hammer horror film. You know what it's like? I'm sure there's fans of Dark Shadows out there, right? Remember this series, Dark Shadows, Barnabas Collins vampire? In fact, there was a point in the Dark Shadows series where I think they went back in time and they were in like a medieval Gothic castle. So it's got like a Dark Shadows, Hammer horror with a Dickens like literary framework. I would say Dickensian, but I don't want to be a Dickensian. Anyway, that's funny. Yes, Charles Dickens is a big influence on Clifton Holmes, and you can see those kind of quirky characters and a very elaborate narrative that's very episodic. Something happens in every chapter, but just like a Dickens novel. But you always want to come back and see what's going to happen next. He has a great way of cliffhanging his endings there, Clifton. So let's recap. The Count at Play and Slaughter, volumes 1 through 3, currently available on Amazon for 99 cents each. $3, you're going to love it. Coming up next year, volume 4 and 5, tentatively called the Brocade Army and the Silver Army. Those titles may change, but volumes 4 and 5 of The Count at Play and Slaughter are coming up, and they are an amazing conclusion to this series. It's really it sweeps you up. I mean, any good novel is going to sweep you up and take you away, right? But I find that Clifton's work is very immersive. Again, the characters are great. you root for Amelina, right? She's a character you can root for, even though she could be a little crafty herself, which I guess you have to be if you've been kidnapped by a vampire. You want to keep on your toes. There's something else I wanted to mention about this. Hang on there, people. I'm looking at my notes. I'm not just staring at the ceiling. Like I said, I'm a little less prepared this time around. But, this is what I wanted to say about the Count and Playing Slaughter. Let me get a drink of tea. You know, Mary San Giovanni. It's morning tea. But the Count and Playing Slaughter, it started to get a lot of good reviews at Amazon and Goodreads, which is nice. Some people have compared it to Anne Rice. Hey, look, there's my son, Rocco. That's my guitar partner, actually. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good.
Good. We're on the air right now. He's excited. So some people have compared the Count at Playing Slaughter to Anne Rice, Charlene Harris, or Stephanie Meyer. I see that. I see it as a maybe Anne Rice. All right, I could give the Anne Rice link there. Again, it's got a gothic past. She is a compelling heroine, Amelina, and it's in a way it's a coming of age novel too, because she's very young when she's taken by the Count, and she becomes a young woman over the course of these series. There's a very interesting scene in the 5th book that is coming out from Bad Hound Press, where the Count has essentially created a kind of Xanadu or Shangri-La, a golden city underground for these princesses to live, and it's pretty amazing. It's a little mini celebration of art and science. It's an amazing thing he's created, and he gives Amelina an amazing offer here that she can live her life as a human, basically. Just come back and be with him at the end, come back when she's 60, 70 years old, and he turn her into a vampire then. It's hard to say no to that, right? And we'll see. I don't know if Amanda's going to say, or Emelina is going to say no to that or not. I don't know. You'll have to read the book and find out. But it's really amazing. Let me tell you about something else that's going on. Hey, Rock. I got a book coming out. It's called The Mud Woman. You want to see what the cover looks like? The Mud Woman. The Mud Woman's sequel to this book that I wrote a couple of years ago called The Mud Man. And, The Mud Man was more of a story of, they're both the stories of, like, The Mud Man was a story about a statue come to life and causing murder. The Mud Woman, in The Mud Man, the sculptor creates 3 living statues. One is a dog named Polly. It's a beagle. Second statue is, still with me? Second statue is George, David, the Mud Man. The Mud Man. Third statue is Maggie, his wife, who he loved very much. The Mud Woman is the story of Maggie, the statue of Maggie. The Mud Man's in it. These are walking statues. In the Jewish culture, they were called golems. This is not a golem. This is a Frankenstein kind of man made of mud. And Maggie is very pure. she's his finest work as a sculptor. She's a beautiful statue. And in the Mud Woman, she kind of becomes a bit of a cultural icon where she's got religious followers. She's got people who are against her. And as a statue, she is vandalized. And then she's confiscated by the government. And then she becomes a kind of a social cause. And she's kind of the start of a American Civil War, I gotta say. Now, the Mud Woman is set in 200 years in the future, 2222. Approximately 200 years after the events of the Mud Man. When you're made of stone, time passes very differently. So it might just seem like the next day to the Mud Man, but it's been 200 years for the rest of us. Anyway, I have a cover artist, Dominic Wilde. Guy does great work. And he made me a great cover for the Mud Woman. Are you ready for the cover reveal? Are you ready? You're going to like it. So remember, Maggie's a statue come to life, confiscated by the government. The Mud Woman. Okay. Let's see if we can get this in there. So you can see, that's Maggie. She's been vandalized. Her hands have been chipped away, which is one of the reasons why she was confiscated by the government. Anyway, it's a funky cover. I'm happy with it. You know what this cover needs? Some blurbs. Now, when I released the Mudman, I got these two macho men, Armand Rosamilia and Tim Meyer, to write some cover blurbs for me. So I think for the Mud Woman, I need something. I would love to have a female's touch like Summer Cannon or Mary Cian Giovanni. Give me a blurb. I can put you on the spot here. Yeah. So I'm going to submit that and send it out to a few more readers. I'll put it this way. The Mud Woman's been through some beta readers. I had one beta reader tell me it's the most beautiful thing I've ever written. I had another beta reader tell me it was a depressing death march of a novel. So you'll have to read The Mud Woman and decide what it is for you. You know how it is with writing. Sometimes you just want to tinker with things and tinker with them. At least I'm a tinkerer. You know, I get the first couple drafts out and there's no problem. But then I don't want to let it go. I can make it better. I can improve it. Which, at some point you have to release your story out into the world. So I think it's time for the Mud Woman to walk the earth. All right, let me see what else we got. Oh, you know what else? You could buy The Mud Man. I wrote these novels, Hangman's Jam. I got a trilogy there of rock and roll horror, which is something very important to me. Yeah, so you can buy all that stuff. It's all up for $1 up on Amazon. Go grab that. Go grab the Count at Play and Slaughter, volumes 1 through 3. They're all 99 cents up on Amazon. And you know what else? I wrote a Bigfoot novella this summer. Why not? Bigfoot fiction. So I'm going to try to maybe shop that around to some other of our publishers here on the BuzzBook Expo. Also, Bad Hound Press. We're open to queries. If you guys would like to send us something, I'd be happy to take a look at it. You know, we're always looking for good, interesting things to put out there. So don't send me any crap. I don't like crap, but I'll be happy to read a good story. I love that. We'd love to publish a good story. And, small press. So, hey, as you're the author, you do the publishing, you do the press and the promotion, and I'll publish it for you. Get you a great cover. I got a Dominic Wilde. He's the best man. So anyway, Bigfoot novella coming this summer. or I wrote it this summer. Maybe it's coming this winter. Yeah, Bigfoot, dude. More of a Yeti. It's kind of up in a mountaintop. What else? We got like another 5 minutes to babble. You know what else I've been doing? Oh, I review books for a place called Indie Reader, indiereader.com. I don't really have any affiliation other than that I write reviews for them. But I think it costs you some money to submit your book and get it reviewed or whatever. So I have no affiliation with that. However, I'll tell you, there's not enough horror books coming out of there. I get a lot of thrillers. I get a lot of literary fiction. So, hey, I'd love for some of the authors on the BuzzBook Expo to submit their stuff to Indie Reader so I can get some more horror books to review. Hey, it's Mary Sarah Giovanni. Hey, you know what else I do? Hey, Mary. Okay, cool. Rob, thinking about books you published so far. Well, we'll keep readers up at night. There's a short story in Sensual Nightmares that I think is the creepiest I've written. And it's called... I'm not even sure what it's called, but it's the last story in Sensual Nightmares. It's creepy. But yeah, I would dive into Hangman's Jam. It's more fun. You know, I find that I go to write horror, and it turns into, it's got some comedy to it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I am. But I find that when you write horror, when you write anything, people react with jokes and humor, and they try to lighten situations, and they try to, lessen threats, especially in horror. You try to laugh away things at first. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. So anyway, I feel like I'm keeping you guys. I know Mary's got other people hanging there. Oh, but before I go, look at this thing. This guitar's for sale. My son and I. Hey, Rock. Over here. So my son and I, we make guitars. Want to wave, Rock? Hey. So my son's special needs. He's got autism. I wrote a book called Autism Dad too. It's kind of about me and my son. Yeah. So we make these guitars. You see them back there. We got a company called It's Your Guitar. So music, guitars, horror. It all comes together for us here at Bad Hound Press. Yeah. The Cruel Earth. What? The Cruel Earth is a band that I'm working in. So go check that out too. Everybody likes prog rock. Hey, Mary. How you doing? Did I battle long enough or no? You're going to put me off now. I understand. That's okay. It was a good time. You're the coolest. All right. Oh, wait. Hang on. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Let me pull this out. Let's see. All right. Try it again. See if that works. No?
Did Mary?
Oh, okay. I think it looked like I was muted. Sorry. I was just wondering if you could give us a link to where people can buy books for Bad Hound.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Start off just going to badhoundpress.com.
Okay.
And then you can find links. They'll take you to, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, wherever you need to go, Amazon. So, yeah, I don't sell anything. I don't have my own store yet. It's through my website. But you could get everything through, the large online booksellers, wherever they are.
Okay. Great.
So cool.
Well, I wanted to thank you for coming to BuzzBook. This has been a lot of fun.
Mary, you're the coolest. Are you going to be able to plug my... You going to write a cool blurb for my Mudwoman book? I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot now. All right, we'll figure that out.
I was going to say email me and we'll talk about it. All right.
Tea. Morning tea, Mary.
I love tea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well,
All
take
right.
care,
Love you,
Rob. It was
Mary.
great having you. Thanks for coming.
All right, no problem. See ya.
Bye. Okay, folks, that was Bad Hound Books, and we are going to have Apocrypha up at 12:50. And in the meantime, we're going to take a little break here if you need to refresh your own tea or coffee, as the case may be, and we'll run a little commercial here and get things going. Okay?
Some songs stick in your head. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Mary.
I have technologically failed you all once again.
It's
As
okay.
I was saying, as I was saying so brilliantly on mute,
Beautiful.
we have Apocrypha here. We have Jacob Haddon and Jessica McHugh, and they're going to be talking about Jessica's stuff and Jacob's stuff, and we're going to be regaled with awesomeness. So I'm going to get out again while I'm ahead, and leave it to you guys. Take it away.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Jacob. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So for everybody who doesn't know, we are here to talk about some blackout poetry. So before we get into that, Jess, what is blackout poetry?
Blackout poetry is basically like taking an existing page of prose or a VCR manual or whatever you happen to have handy and finding a hidden poem within those words. Sometimes it's kind of straightforward, sometimes it's loopy and all over the place. It really depends on what you decide to kind of link together, and then bring it even more to life through the visual aspect and however you choose to interpret that. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, good, good. And of course, this stuff has a long history with found poetry, and I'm not going to forget who did it, but they would slice up the words from the pages
Right.
and place them all everywhere. Right? It's a very long and interesting tradition of getting over that. So while we are here to talk about your books, we are going to do some blackout poetry. I brought the exact same magazine I had last year for consistency's sake. I warned you ahead of time that I have not actually done one of these since last year. So I don't want you to think I've been practicing or something.
I have this Alfred Hitchcock short story collection. It's called Haunted Houseful.
Nice.
And it's not all Alfred Hitchcock. It's a lot of kind of different writers in here, but a lot of stories, a lot of kind of goofy illustrations where Alfred Hitchcock is the ghost in a lot of these things. So it's a fun one.
Yeah. So you do a lot of these for commissions and things, right? So
I do.
I assume that that you probably started off thinking more about the content, but is it still like the content that draws you to the book, or it, like you just said with the goofy pictures, is there now also something else?
I mean, it really depends. I kind of think of what's going to have it sounds weird, the best words. I mean, it's such a weird thing to say, but what might have like really good descriptive words. Also, like a lot of times, something like this. I mean, this is a nice big page. You're going to be able to do a lot of fun like design on something like this. So I think of that. Also, I mean, I love having the illustrations too, because sometimes you have to play with those a little bit. Yeah, and then also just trying to pick out books that I personally love, and then seeing like what I can find in there and what even contrasts with like the original feeling of the story. You know, I love making horror out of children's books. I recently made one from Where the Red Fern Grows that was all about hope, which while I was weeping, trying to make
that's impressive. That's impressive.
sunshine and rainbows and dead dogs.
Well, good. Well, so let's talk about this one first. Where's my camera?
Yes.
Here it goes.
Yay!
Complex Accident of Life. This is blackout poetry based on Frankenstein. For anybody who may not have actually heard about this, it is now a Bram Stoker nominated collection of poetry.
Yes.
Well deserved.
Oh,
and I am holding in my hand the hardcover edition. I'm going to figure out where the camera is eventually.
There we go.
And so we do have a hardcover version of this book for those of you who would like those kinds of things. It is a Lulu sale, so it's not on Amazon, but it is well worth it. They did an excellent job. This is an excellent printing of this book.
Yay!
Yay!
Collect them all.
And for those of you who haven't seen the interior, this is the sort of layout that we're talking about, right? So we've got the art here on this side, and then the poem on that side. So you can see both the art and read the the expected sort of
Yeah.
poetry associated with it. So, Complex Accident Life. This one came out last year, and like I said, is now in hardcover, nominated. Fantastic book. So let's talk about the new one.
Yes.
So with Frankenstein started off a little bit more loose, right? Talk about the
Yeah,
real quick recap Complex.
Yeah, so a very, very different kind of process there where Complex Accident was I had made all these poems and you were like, hey, how about a collection? And I was like, okay, I guess I'll continue making them. And then when it came to putting it all together, I was going to try several things, but the first thing I tried was putting the poems in order as they appear in the book pages. And I was like, well, actually that works perfectly. I don't need to try any more things.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was pretty straightforward. I felt like it conveyed the narrative I was kind of going for there. So I didn't feel like I need to play with it. Strangeness was quite different, in which I really sought out to tell a specific narrative about the grief process and everything that comes with that. And it's divided up into the 3 sections, which I think all of the poems in those sections fall under different kind of, I feel like, grief umbrellas, so to speak. And not just, your normal, like, acceptance, denial, all those things, more of like a, in the beginning, I felt like a lot of those poems are about, the initial feelings that we have. And then, like, you're almost just, that immediate heartbreak. And then that kind of turns into an obsession in a way. We're thinking about it so much. And then it moves into the next part, which is more about the possession. There's a lot of things about, you're the earth in my throat and all that kind of stuff. So that feeling of being possessed, not only by like the ghost of someone who has passed, but death itself and grief itself as an entity. So I kind of explore that in that part. And then the third one is all about transformation, like how we take these ghosts and the grief moving forward. And it really transforms who we are as people, because you're just never the same. You're from that point on, when you lose somebody, you've taken on a part of them, you've taken on that grief as part of yourself. So there's a lot of that in there about the raven, and then the characters almost turning into the raven, which is grief and death itself. So so a little different.
little different. But is equally, if not even more so, successful, I believe. So we're talking about this Strange Nests, which is the follow-up. First off, you can see that it is hold on again with the camera. It is a larger book. This goes into the discussion we were having earlier about the sort of physicality of this art, right? Because even more so, I think, than a lot of the stuff that we do, there's a physical nature to composing these poems.
Mm-hmm.
And the literal pages that they were composed on are larger than what Frankenstein was used. So one of the things that we had to deal with when we put the book together was, how are we going to lay all this stuff out so that we get what we want.
And that one also, like, Frankenstein kind of had a couple different, we were able to scan them all this time, thank goodness. We didn't have to have the pictures. But the first copy of Secret Garden I was using was one that my husband had picked up for me, and the pages were very slick, which I had not really thought about that before, that they might be like that. So there are a couple in there that were made on those original kind of slick pages, but I was like, okay, I need one that's going to be where my ink's not going to run every time, because I'm going to go crazy.
Right. So Strangeness, and as Jess was saying, we've got 3 sections. So body, root, and knife are the 3 sections of the poems as they're divided up into. The pages obviously are from. Not one, if I remember right. There are what, two or three versions of the strain of Secret Garden in here.
Just two in there. Yeah.
Just two.
Mhm.
And so there are two different editions that were used in here, and then even some. I'm going to cut to like the end, but there are more art like this, which is I really enjoyed. Right, so there's lots of pages that aren't even just what you would think of as a standard blackout page like this. I swear I'm going to remember where my camera is. So it's not just the standard like page, right? Like there was a much more even like a next level of interaction with it, right? Which I assume you took the page, found the poem, and they're like, but now I want to present it in a different way than the page offered me.
And the reason that happened was, if you recall, I was experimenting with collage a lot with this one, and I was using these beautiful Graham Rust illustrations, and you pointed out to me that might not be so publishable using someone else's illustration. So I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but let me contact him anyway, which I did. And he did get back to me very promptly, and was very cordial and very kind, and unfortunately could not grant me the rights. So, but that really, like a lot of blackout poetry, what it's done for me is it really has pushed me to experiment in ways that I hadn't before. And so this was a complication, but it was not a roadblock really in any way. I was just like, okay, so what do I do? I gotta, I guess, draw my own stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know how to draw, or do I? I have no idea. Let's see.
Let's see.
I really just played around with a lot of stuff, and so a lot of the poems or the pieces in there that you see that are kind of my drawn stuff are takes on the collages that I had made, but I just kind of changed them around and drew them myself and added my own kind of little flair to it. I whipped out these awesome watercolor crayons that I've had since I was probably 10 years old and haven't really played with since, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And it was, not only did it turn out well, I feel like narratively speaking for the book, and really kind of, it was therapeutic in a way, because I was going through real grief at this time. So to be able to, like, I was already kind of opened up and laid bare. So I was like, why not keep taking risks? So I think it worked out, and I think it shows in those pieces, the kind of the sadness and the joy.
Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. Like it definitely brings something even more personal into it, right? I guess you tend to think about like blackout poetry or found poetry as like, oh, you're digging through somebody else's mess, right? But you sort of are, but you're still looking for your mess, right? You're looking for you inside of all that, and that by doing those, especially on the couple of them, it helps it shine through. That like, no, this is Jessica's poetry. Yeah. Just because it was found somewhere else doesn't mean it's not your work.
And especially in this one, I built a lot more words than in Complex Accident of Life. I don't think there are really that many that are built. I just kind of like found them. And this one, it really was I would get halfway through and I knew where it was going to go, and the page is like, no, that word isn't there, and I'm like,
right,
it's gonna be. Like I just really couldn't help myself on this one. So many poems just felt like they were just there waiting for me, which, I mean, luckily that is a thing you get with blackout poetry a lot. It does kind of feel faded sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, there it is. It's right there.
Yeah. Good. Why don't we read a couple? What do you think?
Yes. Let me just make a little.
Oh, that's right. Post. Yeah. I'm falling behind on my artistic.
No, that's all right. No, I'll definitely read a couple here.
Oh, if you tell me what page, I will show off the art.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to start with the very first one, Mystified, because I feel like this is it definitely kind of, it sets up the feeling, kind of the beginning and the end, weirdly, and it has this kind of great little tangle, yeah.
It does.
Mystified. To grow up is a sort of secret you won't make it out in time to untangle. It's easy to feel afraid in that thought, but a lot of things you shan't expect an answer to. Let that rose-colored curtain hang over the need to know. That kind of, that's that obsession theme. Come on, let it go, girl. Put on the rose-colored glasses. Let's see. I really like actually the second one a lot. This one is very personal to me.
Okay.
An abiding chap, which I think is very interesting because so when this book was inspired by my brother who passed away in January. His favorite movie was The Big Lebowski, and we all know the line "The dude abides."
Right.
So this is called An Abiding Chap, and I didn't come up with that. That was literally on the back of the page. Everyone, as I find the titles and the opposite
right.
thing, it was right there.
Talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Where do you get the titles for the poems?
So when it's done, I just look at what's on the other side of the page, basically what shines through the words I've blocked out, and then I'll form whatever pops up. So sometimes I'll go a little overboard and take a little bit more of the line, but otherwise you end up with a lot of things that are just one-word titles. But this was a pretty magical one that it happened. An abiding chap. It's dark magic what we do when bone and muscle go. Not long after he laid down, we stood up and colored him in joyfulness, weeding the things never talked about. If anybody who's ever had a complicated situation with someone who passed away in their family, you might get that one where it's like, oh, let's just talk about the good times. So that one's a pretty personal one that I am a big fan of. Okay, so this is probably my favorite in the collection as far as the poem and the look of it. And so this is Hungry. It's page 58. I love making teeth. Hungry. You're the earth in my throat, lumps of wretched dirt, happy and comfortable. You have all you need. I need fresh air, but you go where you like, and you like me. New peat to come alive in. And so I love this one so much because of, I mean, the addition of the teeth just makes this look like intestines, and it just makes me so happy every time I see it.
Oh, I love this piece. And I just wanted one more time. But you go where you like, and you like me. Like, seriously, Jessica? That's amazing.
Thank you. I didn't do it. The poem told me that's what it was supposed to be. Where's the one? I lost her. Nope, that wasn't the one I wanted. Oh, Evergreen. This is the one that the title of the collection comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhat. And this was definitely one that was at one point a collage that I drew trees, and I was like, okay, I can draw some trees. And whenever I have like a little guy, that guy was cut out and put inside the tree, so he could have popped out. So the actual like print of this, he can pop right out. Evergreen. I stole a garden nobody goes into. Everything is dead there, but I'm rounder now. I'm myself, hot and sorrowful, with an ivy heart, in a strange nest, in a defiant body, in a dream. Yeah.
Show off the raven, who, as
Yes, little
Jessica
raven.
pointed out, is the reoccurring character element.
Yes. Yeah, he's a
Symbol?
reoccurring
All of
character.
the above.
Yeah. He's, well, you know, when I started doing it, like the character's a character that's Mr. Craven, who like pops up on every page, and I was like, well, you're just going to be a reoccurring raven.
There you go.
You're our little winged symbolism friend. Let's see. One more, two more, one more.
We're good. Yeah,
I
just
marked-
do 2 more.
Okay. Well, I lost my thingy. Oh, Harrison. I like this one a lot. So this is the one, there are very few in here, but there are a couple that kind of have a romantic or sensual feel to them. So that was a lot about the obsession and our relationship to death and the kind of coming together of those things. So this one's called Relations. It's a cute one. It's quite early to jump out of bed. Stay, come, go crazy with me. Pretend today is ever long. We can go where no one would dare follow. There are all sorts of rooms in us. Yeah. Let's do one from the end here. Oh, yeah. I like this one. This is another one. This guy pops out on the original thing. It's like Springy. So I love it when my mom was like, how are you going to put like all those 3D ones in the book? I'm like, well, I don't know. They're going to be 2D. Sorry. Yeah, that one is a fun one. Okay, it's called Buried. I belong to the garden. At first, I was too little to understand. Now I think about it until I cry. How the garden dug into me, spoiled me, hid its hex in me, and no one knows but us. Yeah. So Secret Garden was a lot of fun to play in. It had been ages since I had read it, and I was like, man, like after a couple, I was like, this book is about death and transformation, and
It really is.
It was the perfect book to dive into in that mindset that I was in. If I probably tried to pick it up at any other point in life, it might not have worked as well. It's kind of same with Frankenstein. That took, 2 attempts and suddenly clicked. So it really just, I think, depends on your mindset.
So both of these, by the way, as I do my public. First off, I want to mention that Lynn Hansen did the cover of both of these.
Yes.
And for my fellow publishers watching, for my fellow self-published authors, Lynn Hansen does amazing covers, is amazing to work with. I cannot recommend her enough.
Yes.
I've been spoiled. I'll admit that like every cover artist I've worked for has been fantastic. But these were great. So Lynn, Complex is out now, obviously in hardcover, print, and in ebook everywhere. Nest is out now in ebook. We are having some issues getting it through the the process to get it into print.
Jeffrey Bezos. So
we're getting there. So this will come out in print. It looks amazing. It is now out in ebook on Kindle and also on my site. If you buy it through the site, we also sell it in a nice PDF version that looks basically like this. So you get the full print experience when you purchase it through us that you don't quite get with a Kindle. And so, yeah. So while Jess shows off her ability, so quick Lamplight update. We are about to start volume 10 of Lamplight. That means 10 years of doing this, which is hard to imagine. The September issues, September and December issue were edited by E. Catherine Tobler, and they're fantastic. The September issue will be out in a matter of day or so, which will be great to show off to the world. And of course, December will come out in December. It was very fun to read Lamplight as a reader because she did all of the back end work and just sort of sent me the stories and like, here you go. Here's an issue of Lamplight. And I was like, wow, this is a really good magazine. So that made me feel good. But like I said, that'll be out in a couple days. And we are doing for the writers listening, we're doing a special call. The call that will start September 15th. The criteria is, if accepted, this would be my first professional sale. And if that is true, then you are welcome to submit. We have upped our pay rate to 6 cents a word. We're gonna be stingy about the word count because we have a budget to adhere to. But go to lamplightmagazine.com, check out our submission guidelines, and they're there. We do quiet horror and so like Twilight Zone stuff. Let's see, a question popped up about the subscription. So the subscription is for ebooks. It's $10 a year, and so for that $10, you get the next 4 issues. The ebooks are emailed to you, or if you go in when you sign up, there's a place to put in your Kindle address, and they'll just pop up automatically in your Kindle the morning that they're sent out. And so that's also, there's a link to that on the Lamplight Magazine site as well. So thank you for the question. And we also do a podcast while I'm thinking of things. It's called the Lamplight Radio Play, and it is what it sounds like. We take stories from the radio play. And I just got another one. So we can take stories from the magazine and they turn into actual radio play. So full cast. My friend Andrew has been doing them since the beginning, and he is fantastic at what he does at editing and producing these things. The most recent one just dropped 2 weeks ago. I should know that. It's called The Elevator Girls, based on a fantastic story by Rebecca Turkowitz. And Andy outdid himself with some of the sounds in it. And so I knew what was going to happen in the story, and I was creeped out. And so recommend it. It's an anthology, right? So any of the episodes are standalone. Again, all based off of stories in the magazine. So if you like that sort of thing, take a look. And we are near the end of time, so I'm going to try to get a poem real quick.
I'm almost done mine. Let's see. All right. I could probably do like a little more to it, but she's stuck.
One moment.
Missed her completely.
I got something.
All right. All right. Oh, I gotta find the title.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
All right. So you look. All right. So here's what I've got. And again, this is from Poets and Writers from March of 2009. This is a very important piece of literature.
Of course.
I don't know. I think we all can listen, multiply that to every little moment that Netflix is giving their algorithm.
That's amazing. I love that. All right. This is mine. It's called Claimed. A ghost doesn't take up room. It makes a home in the heart it haunts.
Nice. That's also great.
Hey, see, fun stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for talking. It's good to see you, Jess.
Of course. Yeah, you too.
And thanks to everybody who tuned in to listen, and everybody who's tuning in at some other later time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you guys both so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. The poems were fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And this was a lot of fun. So thank you very much for joining us.
And thank you, Mary, and everybody
having
who's running this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Okay, folks. So that was Apocrypha. And coming up next at 1:30, we have D&T Publishing. And they're going to be talking about some stuff that they have going on. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Hi, folks. We're still waiting on DT Publishing. We're going to give it a couple more minutes and just make sure everything is all good. And we'll be back in a couple minutes to hopefully bring you DT Publishing. And okay. Oh, wait, hold on. We have her. We have Dawn. So I'm going to bring Dawn into the stream. Hi, Dawn. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm sorry. I it was a little technical lag on my end here. So it's so great to have you. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to remind people, if you have questions about D&T Publishing, then post them as comments in the comment section. Tag them with questions so that I know and I can get them up for Dawn. And I'm going to step out and give the floor to you.
All right.
And I'm also going to take away the ticker.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dawn Shea, and I'm the owner of D&T Publishing. We have only been around for just a little bit of time, so we're fairly new to the publishing world. We started in February of 2021, and since then we have put out 16 books. So it's been very interesting and fun. D&T stands for D is for Dawn, myself, and then the T is for my husband, which his name is Timothy. And we are in Corinth, Mississippi. It's a very small town, but we love it here. And we have 5 children, and I'm a nurse by trade. So that's what I do. That's my full-time job. But we love doing the publishing. We love D&T. We love our authors. Everybody's been really great to work with. We haven't had a bad one yet so far. But what you're all here for is obviously to hear about our books that are coming up. If you are familiar with ABCs of Terror, that's a anthology series that we put out, and that is ours. So if you've ever heard anybody mention ABCs of Terror, then they were talking about D&T. We also have several other different anthologies that we have put out. Just various ones. We have one that's called After the Kool-Aid is Gone, which is a political, like current event type anthology. And all the stories that are included in that anthology are more, I would say, more current event related than actual political. Of course, there are a few stories in there that are politically related or have a name that you might recognize in it. Then we also have It's All Fun and Games Until Somebody Dies. That is a story or an anthology of all stories of where games, you either die in the game or from the game. So, and they could not use any games that were, normal games that we already have. They had to make it something completely different, totally never heard of. So that was a really great anthology, and it was fun to do, and we had some really great stories in that. Let's see. So what we have coming up for D&T, actually this came out on Friday, which is Harmed by Dustin LaValle. And it's a novella, and it's about, let's see, I would say it's more, it's darkly comedic. It's a thrilling horror satire. But there's this guy that I won't tell the whole thing because obviously you need to read the book. But there's a guy that his name is Estes, and him and 39 other people are in this department store, and they're being directed, or there's a guy that's seen, but I mean, he's heard but never seen. He's called the director, and he's basically telling them what to do. And basically, the choices are you either fight or you die. If you try to leave, the security team will kill you. And if you survive, then you earn the right to leave. So it's very visceral for sure. But it goes into a lot of like societal norm of control through obedience. If you look at stories like that, where there's you have to do this to accomplish this, and if you don't, then you're gonna die. But it also addresses like stereotypes portrayed, especially like in Hollywood and accepted by the general population. And, state of race, gender, sexual identity, power of individualism, against bigotry. And so it's a horror story, but it's really, true life, in a roundabout way, because all of the people that are in the department store that are having to fight each other, they're in groups of people, and it's like the hillbillies and the drug heads, and then this group and that group. So it's really talking about how society puts you into a group, and then you're expected to act a certain way or do certain things because that's what society says you should do. So it's quite an interesting novella, as it goes into that so well. And even though it's fiction, if you read it, you notice that a lot of things hit close to home, especially how things are in society today. Excuse me. So on 9/17, we have Fill the Void coming. And it is a novel that is written by 16 different authors. I'm actually included in this one. It was the last one that I wrote. But it's a post-apocalyptic novel. And as apocalyptic novels often are, it starts at the beginning of where, when the apocalypse is starting. And then after that, it goes into what happens after that. Now, when you have 16 different authors writing, different parts of a book, then you also have so many varying point of views and the things that they, how their brain works, and the things that they think about, and, this is what already happened, so this is what I think would happen next. So it's very interesting to be a part of that and work through that process of getting this novel together. And when I tell you that some crazy stuff happens, very interesting things happen that you think, wasn't expecting that. But basically, an EMP, we don't know how or why, but that's what we think happened. An EMP has hit Earth, and so it has brought on this thing called the dome. And obviously with an EMP, anything electronic no longer works. So they're having to deal with all of that, along with a lot of new things that come up during the time. So yeah, it's gonna be great, and I hope everybody enjoys it. It was a labor of love. We started this over a year ago, and just now finished it. So we're super excited about it, and I know a lot of people, especially during the time we're living in now, with COVID and all that, that people are kind of nervous about apocalypse type things. But we definitely tried to stay away from any kind of sickness type thing. So we went with the EMP, and yeah, there's no zombies, there's none of that kind of business. It's just people acting like and reacting to the situations that they are in, now that the world has come to an end, and there's it's kind of you fight or flight pretty much. So they do what most people do in that situation. You learn to survive, and sometimes that means that you have to take the lives of other people. So after that was Fill the Void. After Fill the Void on 10/8, we have The Beast of Visaria County by Douglas Ford coming. And now, The Beast of Visaria County, obviously the title, you were kind of like, what all beasts does Visaria County have? And that's a very good question. That is set in Visaria County, which is in Florida. And it follows a lady named Maggie, and she is getting out of a failed marriage, and she has moved back home with her dad, and she's living in Visaria County, Florida. And she has, I don't want to give too much away, but she starts having some interesting interactions with the next door neighbor, and his name is WD. And she finally finds out that he, or she thinks that he's a grave robber. Turns out there's a little more to it than that, but I will say that there is a witch, there is a lycanthrope, and there is some mention of Elizabeth Bathory. But I won't go into too much detail because obviously I don't want to give too much away. But it is a total spin on a werewolf book. It's not your average werewolf book by any stretch of the imagination. It was really great, and I was so happy when Douglas sent it to us and wanted us to publish it, because it's so different and interesting. So after that, on 10/29, we will have The Dire Circle, which is an anthology that we are doing, and it is themed the Black Zodiac. And now most people know the Black Zodiac from 13 Ghosts, right? Well, there is an actual Black Zodiac, and it's just our zodiac that we're used to is the light side of the zodiac. Well, there's a dark side. Every light side, there's a dark side. So it's basically the same thing. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Pisces, all of that is just their alter ego, so to speak. So you have the tyrant, you have the let's see, what else? There's just various different ones, and they are the characteristics of the dark side of the zodiac. So, for instance, let's say that this particular zodiac, their characteristics are being selfish and being greedy. So each person that's in the anthology, we had there's 13 zodiacs, so we had 13 authors. Each one wrote their own story, and they used the characteristics of that particular zodiac, and they wrote a story based off of that. What would you do, or how would you be, or how would you deal with this situation if, instead of being on the light side of the zodiac, which most people are, if you were on the dark side of the zodiac and you tended to lean more to your dark habits and your dark side. So the stories are so great. They're so interesting. I'm actually still reading through them now to get them signed and everything. But so far, the ones that I've read have been amazing. Which, to get into the anthology, they had to send in a paragraph. We do that occasionally. Instead of just having them send us a whole story, we have them send in a paragraph, because I figure if you can get my attention in a paragraph, you can get my attention in a story, obviously. So it's just been a great way for us to find new authors, for one thing. We like to help get as many authors out there as we can. So that's helped a lot in doing that. So you don't keep having the same authors all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not what we like to do. We like to try to get as many as possible. So we had them, after they submitted their paragraph, my husband and I went through the all of them, and we picked the best ones that we liked. And those are the ones. And so they actually got to use their paragraph. Most of them got to use their paragraph to continue it on into the story for the anthology. So that was very interesting to see the small little paragraph that I love so much, brought out into this larger story. And the stories were 36,000 words long. So, you actually did get a lot more in depth with the characters and everything. And so, I think it's great. And that was The Dire Circle, and that is coming out on October 29th. On November the 12th, we will have Left to You by Daniel J. Volpe. A lot of people know Daniel. He is a very awesome guy, but we have already put out a novella by him earlier this year, A Gift of Death. But this one is actually an actual novel. It's about 70,000 words long. And this is Daniel's first novel. It is also Daniel's first true horror. He not true horror. He writes more splatterpunk, gore type books. So this is his first traditional horror book, I guess you would say. And it's called Left to You. And it takes place in two different time periods. The first part of the book happens in 1943 to 1950. It's during the Holocaust, and it takes place in Auschwitz. And it is there's a gentleman that him and his wife and his two twin boys. They are Jewish, and they are imprisoned at Auschwitz. And Daniel did a lot of research, and he went very much in depth into the things that happened at Auschwitz. And so it will pull at your heartstrings 100%. But the gentleman in the book, he is a theology professor, and don't want to give too much away, but he befriends one of the upper soldiers. I can't remember if he's a general or what. But he befriends him, and they start talking and all of this thing. And he and the general, or I think he's a general, he ends up leaving the theology professor a gift. And sometimes gifts aren't always what they seem, or there's a little more to them than what you bargained for. And so that is exactly what happens. And then the second half of the book is in present day, and was a theology professor. Of course, he's an older gentleman now, and he's you know, he's getting on up there, and he's trying to you know, he's living in New York, and he's trying to get by, but he has this gift that he was given many years ago, and he has to find a way to give it to someone else. So it's very visceral, very real, especially the first half about when they're talking about Auschwitz. It's horrible. But and then as it goes on, and then it just gets especially when you find out what the gift is and how he goes about giving it to someone else. So and that is coming November the 12th, and that's Left to You by Daniel Volpe. Our next one will be on November 26th, and it is Black Tongue and Other Anomalies by Richard Beauchamp. It is a short story collection, and it has psychological, sci-fi, body, historical horror. But what brings them all together is they all have a unifying theme of isolation. All the stories, while they're all different, they all do have that same underlying theme. And I couldn't pick a bad one out of there, but there was a couple that I wanted to mention really quickly. The namesake of the story, and one of the very first story in the book is Black Tongue, and it's about this guy that he is a tracker, and he has been sent to find these he's in the Canadian territories, and he has been sent in the cold and the snow, and he's freezing. He's been sent to find these I think they were miners maybe that got lost, or they haven't been back, and so he goes to find them, and he finds out that they didn't just go missing. They they are, he finds them, but they are not no longer alive. But they are definitely hot on his trail. So that was one of my favorite stories out of the bunch. And then also the second one, not my, these are just a couple I wanted to mention, but there's one called Obsidian, where there's an older lady. She hears this noise. She goes downstairs. This rock has come through her ceiling into the house, and it's this big black rock. Well, as the story goes on, this lady, she just gets sicker. She gets weirder. She starts doing all this crazy stuff. Then neighbors try to intervene, and they get caught up in the obsidian. So they're just really great stories all together, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a short story collection, and it is called Black Tongue and Other Anomalies by Richard Beauchamp. And then our last one for 2021 will be on December the 10th, and it is Flight of the Crow by Mark House. We love Mark. We've already published one book of his, Nana, and we have some more coming next year. But this is a book about this guy. His daughter has passed away, and he keeps saying this crow. It sits on her gravestone. It taps on his window. Like it won't leave him alone. So he decides to follow the crow. Just, see what's going on. And he does that, and he finds these mysterious crow people living in the woods. And he has quite an adventure with them. And some horrifying things happen. And it's don't want to tell too much, give too much away, but I think it's going to be another great novella from Mark, and it's a great story overall. Very interesting. Very weird things happen that you don't expect. But if you've read Nana by Mark, then you already know what I'm talking about. He's the guru of weird things happening that you don't expect. So All Things Deadly by AC Hansen is amazing to me. Look forward to more. We do not currently have any more books by Eric coming. He has talked to me about a couple of things, but we don't have anything set in stone right now. Is there a market for dark academia horror anthology? That is a very good question. I would like to see that, and I'm hoping maybe we can. I know in 2022 we have a lot of new things coming. Unfortunately, we focused this year more on individual author books instead of anthologies. But anthologies is our home. That's where we got started. We started with ABCs of Terror originally. And so that's always, been in my heart is anthologies. So, I would definitely, I hope maybe we can do one, or I'd love to see one from someone else even. I'm open to definitely doing that. I think, but if you follow us, so we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok. So you can find us just about on any social media. And we have tons of new stuff coming next year in 2022 for new authors. We also have Mark Tassel's coming back, Ronald Kelly's coming back, Daniel Volpe's coming back. Let's see, who else? We have several authors that we've already published their books prior in this year. So they're all coming back next year. They've got all new stuff, super fun stuff. And then, of course, we have a lot of new authors that we're going to be doing their books next year. And so we're super excited about all those. I mean, it's going to be amazing. The level of stuff we had for this year is crazy.
I'm really excited about all these things. You did a fantastic job talking about all the books. I'm really glad to hear that. We've been asking publishers over the course of the weekend about things that they're excited about doing, different ways that they're marketing things, different ways that they're promoting things. And, we found that, a lot of small presses are really doing innovative things and trying new things. Like you mentioned the novel that you have, I believe, 16 different authors.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's just new kind of fascinating projects. So we're really glad to hear that, so much cool stuff is coming from D&T.
Thank you.
So I wanted to thank you for being on the Expo. It was great to have you. And
thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And just so folks know where they can go. You mentioned you're on several different social media. Could you just give the website again?
Our website is dantpublishing.com, and the and is spelled out. So it's DAND.
Okay, perfect.
And then you can also find all of our books on godless.com.
Okay, cool. Great. Thank you so much, Dawn. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
You too.
Okay, folks, we have coming up in the next couple hours, we have Bleeding Edge Books at 2:10. At 2:50, we have Madness Heart Press. And at 3:30, we have Apex Books. Now, I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned again that if you are interested in the giveaway that Tor Nightfire is doing for Katrina Ward's book at the end of Needless Street, just email us your name and your address, and we will put you on the list. It's a first come, first serve. The first 25 people that we hear from in our email, we will we'll put you in. We'll put your name in for getting this ARC from Katrina Ward. And the email address we need you to email us your name and your mailing address is info@buzzbookexpo.com. So just let us know and we'll put you on the list. And thanks again to the audience for, we're really appreciating all the great questions that you guys have coming and for all the enthusiasm about the books. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with our next publisher. Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm back, folks. Hi, sorry about that. we're still ironing out the occasional, technical thing here. But anyway, I am happy to bring you Bleeding Edge books. I'm going to add these guys to the stream.
David.
How you
Hey,
guys doing?
how's everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
How are you doing, Mary?
Oh, good. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to pop out in a second and leave everything to you guys. I just want to remind folks, if you have any questions, to post them into the comment section and tag it with question so I can get it up on the screen for the guys to see.
Okay.
And I'll leave it to you guys. Take it away.
Okay.
David, you go ahead and start.
All right. Well, I guess I guess I'd like to introduce Bleeding Edge Books, which is a very, very small press publisher at this point. In fact, we only have the one book. So
But it's a humdinger.
but it's a badass book.
Right.
But yeah, no, so my goal with Bleeding Edge was to do something a little different. You know, because I personally have my own sort of like vibe, that things that I like and things that I think should be out there, that sometimes some publishers don't think, oh, it's not this or that, fine, whatever. I get it. But so I'm kind of looking for those kind of things. I want the outliers. I want the stuff that no one else will touch.
Mhm.
And we kind of did that with the bad book, didn't we, John?
Yeah. I mean, what was it? This goes back about a year ago when I approached you with this. I've been looking at doing anthology work because there are a lot of anthologies out there, but there's always some things that you're not seeing enough of. And I had this idea for turning Bible stories into horror stories because they're so close, really. And surprisingly, with David, it was a pretty easy sell. With the authors, it was a little bit more problematic. A lot of the authors didn't want to be struck by lightning, or they were uncomfortable with the theme. It's totally cool. So when I approached David, I think it just all seemed to click. He was getting started with his new publishing company. This is going to be my second foray into editing anthologies, and really came together pretty quickly and pretty well, I thought. What about you?
I mean, John, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's always a pleasure to work with you in every capacity we've ever had the chance to do so. So yeah, I mean,
got you, man.
I mean, it was it was great, and like John said, he's like, well, I got this crazy idea, no one else will touch it. I'm like, sounds like a hell of a debut for a new press. Let's do it.
Well, and it really came together well. I mean, the authors that we were able to get,
unbelievable.
Phil
Unbelievable.
Percassi, Christy DeMeester, and Haley Piper, and Todd Keeling, and John Langan, and Sarah Reed, and the list goes on and on and on. Violet Castro, and I'm leaving out lots of people, but Cindy O'Quinn. We were able to get some really top drawer authors with this thing, and who, people who really, I think, took the theme to heart. And we got a great gamut of stories in here. It's not like everybody picked the same Bible verse or Bible story.
Right.
They really ran with it. So we've got, everywhere from your kind of more traditional horror story all the way over to Eric Nunnally's story, which is more like a sword and sorcerer.
I love that.
Robert Howard kind of thing, which is great to get because it's so different than anything else in the book, but totally in keeping with the theme of the book. So, I thought it came together really well. And then, finding David, and I think that, he and I have worked together. You and I have worked together on a bunch of projects at this point. So we're kind of simpatico with the way we think about things. And David got some top tier production for the book, I think, from the cover all the way to the interior illustrations. And then, Todd Kiesling's layout of the book with the kind of parchmenty kind of paper look to it. It just all came together really, really well.
It's cool to see some of the reviews coming back and to see that everyone's like, "Oh man, what a beautiful book this is!"
Yeah. It
And
really
that's
is.
really cool because I mean, it had to be kind of yeah. I don't know that everything else from Bleeding Edge is going to be like that, but there will be things that like are definitely worthy of that little extra stuff.
Yeah, I
little
think that,
flourish.
the idea that I have when I started to approach the idea of going with anthologies, editing anthologies, is that, I wanted to look at first of all, subjects that I don't see a lot of out there in the industry, not a lot of people being asked to write on a particular theme.
Yes.
But the also, and I think you would agree with me completely, David, is just being able to hand select who you want to work with.
Yep.
Cherry picking people that whose work I admire, who've got a cool social presence, social media presence, and then
Mhm.
just seem like they'd be great to work with. And the Bad Book was sort of my second step into anthologies. The first one was a biggie, was with Dark Stars, which is going to be out from Tor next year. But it's it's the same thing. It's just picking people that you want to work with, and then being thrilled that you got them to say yes, first of all, and that they turned in a fantastic story. So from that standpoint, I'm really, really pleased. And like David said, we are getting nice feedback so far on it. So looking forward to seeing more reviews.
Yeah, everything's been very positive so far. I mean, reviews are reviews. Sometimes some
Yeah,
people get it and some
right.
people don't get it. I mean, we've had, crazy stuff happen on the Facebook page for it, here and
Well, and you
there.
knew. I think we both knew going
Oh
in
yeah.
that this was going to be particularly problematic once you got
Yeah.
it out, because
You're
there
going to
will
hell.
be there are people that will be offended. I don't think there's anything too offensive.
No, I think it was actually I think it was all it was done very tastefully in my opinion. It wasn't like this is not a shock value thing.
No,
Like this is
no,
not like a punch in the face of Christianity. This is let's examine what that means with the human condition. All these
right,
Bible stories and some of these things are, as you said, I mean, they are this short of horror stories, and some of them are more than that.
right.
So, especially the Old Testament.
And nobody, I don't. There's nobody in the book who put together a story that I thought was, because I was on the lookout for this. Being offensive just for the sake of being offensive.
Right.
I was pretty sensitive to that, and nobody did that. I didn't have a problem with anybody's story in that regard.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. So if people are going to get the book expecting to have some, page after page of just being horribly offensive to Christianity, it's not. It's not
All right.
that. That wasn't the point setting it out. So I'm not a particularly religious person, but David, you kind of are, sort of.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be sensitive to
Cafeteria
that.
Catholic.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic. It's probably why I'm not Catholic anymore.
Yeah, John and I have had many discussions about this. Late night discussions.
Oh yeah, but I think that going into this with the idea that we weren't trying to be offensive just for the sake of being offensive, but we knew that there were going to be some people who not only just took issues with particular stories, but just thought the whole idea was, blasphemous and heretical. But that's kind of what it was for. So,
And probably some other people were like, their agents were like, "Don't do this.
yeah, don't do this.
Don't do this.
Don't
This is a bad
do
idea."
But, I thought again, I think we had a great run of authors with this. I was really happy
Oh my gosh,
with the
it's
people
unbelievable.
who contributed.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. Like what you curated here and put together is astounding. I mean, obviously, you know how I feel about it. So, uh,
Well, we're
yeah,
both biased, but I think
yeah,
that
we are. We're certainly biased, but
I'm as proud of this as anything that I've done. I've got that book with Dark Stars coming out with Tor coming out in March. It's called Dark
cool.
Stars, and I'm not any less proud of this book than I am of that. I
Mhm.
think the stories are phenomenal, and getting to work with these people that who I admire their work was just it's the thing that's going to keep me going doing anthologies. I think as I look further down the road, I would like to continue to put together anthologies. Um, what do you see down the road for Bleeding Edge?
Well, if you'd like to put together anthologies in the future, no, no, yeah, man. Look, for Bleeding Edge, like we're just starting out. We're just kind of finding our legs here at this point. We do have we're Doug Morano and I are going to be doing Shadows Over Main Street free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a definite thing on that yet, because kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit here.
I'm working on my story.
What's right? But we're looking at maybe late summer or fall of next year
Mhm.
for the release of that, and that's going to be the number 3. We'll just call it that. And everybody loves a trilogy, so this will be sort of our trilogy, our homage to Lovecraft and all the well, not more about what you can do with what he left us,
Right,
not
right.
necessarily him himself because he was kind of a dick. Um,
Yeah.
so
Who's putting
but
that
yeah,
out? Are you doing that with Bleeding Edge or?
we are doing that with Bleeding Edge,
Ah,
yes.
fantastic! Great, 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 great.
And then Doug has his own press going now too.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Hand Books.
Bad hand. So
Come on, I got to give some love to my brother Doug. So
Doug's a great
I
guy.
have to. I have to.
You know, I say this a lot in interviews, but being able to work with people that you like who kind of are on the same wavelength with you is that to me right now with my career, that's really vital.
Hmm.
Not having to work with people that you don't particularly want to work with or like to work with or whose stuff that I have nobody in mind with that. I'm just saying it's great to work with people that are
I
like
see.
minded.
Okay. All right. If you say so, John.
Well, I'll DM you a list later.
Like we're
Uh,
gonna have to have a really serious conversation after this.
but yeah, I think that I as I proceed with my work with novels and short stories and that kind of thing, I still want to keep my hand in editing and assembling anthologies and working with people like you and people like Doug and that kind of stuff. It's really fulfilling to me.
Well, and one of the things that I wanted to do with Bleeding Edge, which sort of you know kind of works with what you're talking about, is I want to do. I'm not looking to publish novels. I'm not trying to be anybody's competition or whatever. I
Hmm.
just want to do what I think is maybe should be out there and isn't out there, and I want to do it in the way that I want to do it. So it's like novellas. I'm very interested in that format. And anthologies. I'm
Hmm.
not looking to do novels. That doesn't mean that I won't. It just means that that's not what I started out with.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I think there is a real people say, and I mean I know Doug and I have said this to death. I think in interviews and stuff. But uh, when we pitched Shadows Over Main Street the first place, they were like, "Well, anthologies don't sell."
Right.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I used to hear that a lot. They don't sell as well as novels,
Granted.
but
And novels don't sell as well as series.
right.
Oh,
But
is it
they
gonna be a
sell.
series like ching?
Yeah.
Everybody wants the money. I get it.
But they
Um,
sell. I mean, you just got to find the right audience and get it
right.
in front of people. That's the
And I
really
mean, but the anthologies are to me very critical to this genre because it exposes you to
Yes.
authors and
Yes.
voices that you would never have otherwise heard.
And
And
that was
I mean,
a
you know,
driving force for this.
yeah, absolutely. And the diversity thing, you know, call me a social justice warrior or whatever you want, but no, the diversity is important. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, every story stands on the strength of its
Mhm.
construct, but um, I mean, yeah, there's no reason that we should be going back to the same old, you know,
No.
fishing hole
No, and I think we were
as
both on the
editors
same page about that.
and publishers.
Yeah. That offering people who might not have as big an access to readership as some other people,
Right.
giving them the opportunity to get out there in a collection and having, being exposed to a wider audience of readers. I think that was important to both of us going into
Yeah.
this. And that's as it should be. I mean, anthologies should be a way for readers to find new voices in the
Yes.
genre. So I thought that was vital when we had the idea, and vital as we picked the authors we were going to invite, and
I think, in fact, that's probably the most vital function of an anthology, especially in the small press, you know, world
Yeah.
that we kind of all operate in.
Yeah.
But with some bleed over. But yeah, I mean, I really think that it's vital, because otherwise you're just, you know, seeing what's out there, like what's here, you know, on the front page.
Right.
Well,
Well, and
there's
why would
so
you
much
limit
stuff.
your readership to people who are just familiar with the authors they're familiar with? Expand their horizons a little, and let them see the huge diversity there is right now in the horror industry. I can't speak for science fiction or romance or mystery or anything like that, but horror has really got a huge audience of very diverse writers out there. And I think you kind of, when you put these books together as an editor like I am, or as David is a publisher, you have a responsibility to offer readers new voices to listen to. So it is an important thing, and people can
Amen,
agree with
brother.
that or whatever, but that's just the way it is, and it's good. It's great. Finally. Yeah.
Man.
So does anybody have any questions? Are we seeing any questions pop up?
Hi guys, I have two questions, if that's okay. I'm going to kick some questions off here. We've been asking publishers all weekend about their dream projects, and David as a publisher, John as an editor. What would your dream project be? And I'm talking like, if money and other obstacles were no object. The other question I have, which I've been finding fascinating with a lot of the publishers we've been talking to, is ideas they have for unique marketing or packaging. Do you guys have any ideas that you want to try out, or that you have tried that you think are fun? Just fun, new, different kinds of things to get excitement and buzz going for your books.
Wow. What's your dream project, Dave?
And I'm out. No, my dream project for, like, as a publisher, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm still finding my legs here. So, but something. I always liked the old paperbacks.
Yeah.
Where in the texture on the front, they always have the
Yeah,
little,
yeah.
and the goofy little, like, you turn the page and there's something underneath. I love those horror
Yeah.
those horror
Eyes.
anthologies from the 80s and the 70s
Right.
were just gold. I would love to publish something like that someday. I would,
Yeah,
and have the juice inside of it to
Right.
warrant that kind of
Yeah,
packaging.
a really kind of pulpy 80s thing.
Yeah. So I mean, that to me, that would be like a dream thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? But
Yeah, I think
what about you, John?
Well, I mean, sort of and I hate to, I'm not trying to butter anyone's bread here, but these two anthologies that I've done this year, The Bad Book and Dark Stars, it's the first time that I've actually, I put together some other things. I can taste the blood for Gray Matter Press and that sort of thing. But this was really me coming up with the idea and approaching a public, the traditional way. If you come up with an idea, pitch somebody and they say yes or no, and then you go off your merry way and you put it together. So both of these projects were kind of dream projects for me because I got to, again, work with people that I wanted to work with. I'm working with great publishers. Yeah. So not that I've attained all my dreams that I can just sail into the grave now, but I would say probably more of the same, just kind of more of the same.
Yeah.
In terms of promotional stuff, yeah, I don't know. It's really, as social media has dominated marketing, it's kind of interesting for old people like me to, fend their way through that. What do you think, David?
No, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, you know, I, I was thinking about packaging and remember like our initial idea and your
Yeah,
initial idea for the bad book was to actually make it like the Bible that you
right,
got in church,
right. That
black
deviled
Bible,
black
yeah,
cover. Yeah,
yeah, exactly, yes. I would still like to do like a special edition of this though,
you
but
know, we can
time
talk.
and time
You
and finances allowing, we should definitely do
Well,
that.
we might want to talk to
Limited.
Paul at Thunderstorm because he might be able to do something like that.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
But yeah. What else, Mary?
Nothing I do.
Just reminding folks, if you have any questions, post them in the question section, in the comment section, and tag them with question so that we know and we can get them up here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I like the ideas. I like the idea of a Bible type look. I mean, we've been talking to people that they're talking about like swag that they give away
Right.
or like little figures or I forget how they phrased it, but it was almost like a gift, not like a gift basket, but like a gift packet, just interesting, cool stuff. And I think that I think the small press is the best way to, the best place to do that. You know what I mean? Like there's just cool, neat things to do that you could do it in like packaging and marketing. Because to be honest, I get what you mean. I hesitate to say that I'm old, but I'm old enough that social media, is it's constantly changing, and it's a constant, sometimes uphill struggle. I think to find ways to make it work, and to stay on top of the things that that you need to stay on top of. So
and just break out of the clutter of everything else that's out there.
Exactly, and make your stuff stand out from other people.
Yeah, I always thought if we had an unlimited budget, David, would be really great. Is next year at StokerCon, leave a copy on everybody's nightstand in their hotel room, like the Gideon Bible.
I've known people that have done that.
Really?
That they when they go to hotels, they leave copies of their books on the nightstand, or they've left things, I've tucked into shelves, which drives bookstore people crazy, but yeah, just like, different. I think we need to find more out of the box ways of promoting. And I'm finding that the best ideas are coming from you guys, from, from publishers and editors that want to find ways to stand out.
Sure.
I love the idea of guerrilla marketing, and John, we should definitely do that. All we got to do is bribe the cleaning crew. Just go in there, like, hey, is it cool if I just stick this in the drawer over here?
Right. We'll just tuck it next to the Bible. Right. It's all good.
Sure. That is ultimate guerrilla marketing.
I grabbed the wrong book. You damn sure did. But yeah,
I'm sorry.
I love that shit, man. No, I was just saying, I love that shit. I love the idea of it. I'm not particularly good at it as far as like, imagination goes, but because it's not my area. But yeah, I love the idea of all that kind of stuff. I welcome any kind of input from readers and fellow, colleagues and whatever else, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've noticed that too. I've noticed publishers seem agreeable to these kinds of to promotional ideas, which I think is fantastic. I do have a question Two other questions now. One about the old 80s cutout look, which I love. And so many people of not just of the generation that would remember them as kids, but even like younger generations, like so many people would love to get that look back in books. But I'm not seeing people doing that. Is there a reason for that? Is there like an obstacle to that? And the other question while I have you is that for the writers who are watching this, who may want to submit to you guys, can they, and what would they need to do?
Let me tackle the second one right off. We are right now, Bleeding Edge Books is in the market for novellas. I'm not looking to do a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to pick a very small bunch of them and do them well. And so we are open until late October. So if you got something, send it. We're going to read it and check it out, and we'll let you know. Anthologies wise, right now we're kind of doing what John and I did. You know, we're hand picking things, and or asking invited anthologies, I should say. And yeah, so I mean, right now that's what we're doing. But if you have a novella, you burning a hole in your pocket, send it my way.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm like casting about right now, trying to figure out the next anthology that I want to do, and then who I'm going to do it with. And I don't have the bandwidth to do an open call. I don't have the time to read 800 submissions. I hear these nightmare stories from people who've done open submissions, and I think it's great because you get to see a lot that you probably wouldn't otherwise see. But I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. So I think anything that I'm going to do moving forward is going to be invitation only. And I'm on Twitter and I'm really approachable. And so if you got something that you think I'd be interested in or whatever,
guy's a total dick. Don't let him fool you.
People, I've got to maintain this nice guy demeanor.
Right.
It's all I've got. It's all I've got.
Yeah, after this, he just screams at me for hours.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty approachable on social media. So if you just want to say hello and want me to consider you for whatever comes next, I'm perfectly cool with that. So that's all I got.
And about the 80s covers, is there an obstacle why people don't do those?
I wonder, I mean, can Amazon or any of the places that produce the sort of print on demand books, I wonder if they can do a double cover like that.
I think anything can be done, but I think it's a question of like everyone's like trying to get by spending the least amount that they can. Sure. And maybe back then it was different because authors actually got paid like crazy advances back then.
Yeah.
It's like when you got a Richard Matheson story in your, terror anthology, probably raking in some bucks.
Right.
You get the Stephen King, you got, Straub and all those guys. But like, I think at least on the small press level, the only way I could do that is to make it a very limited edition. And like, we make like 100 of these and it's going to cost a mint, but it'll be beautiful. And that's the kind of thing that I want to do.
Well, I think that 80s horror idea, well, maybe that's the next thing we do.
I've talked to so many people who love those books and would go out of their way to buy a book that looks like those old cutouts, with the old fonts and the raised lettering, and they'd love it.
Yeah. We all grew up with that stuff. So
yeah, come on.
Readers would go bananas if we could do something like that.
Yeah,
bananas.
I agree.
I would love to.
We'll be looking forward to that from Bleeding Edge Books.
Oh shit!
There you go.
I'm locked in now,
first, folks. Oh god. Well, I want to thank you both very much for being on the BuzzBook Expo stream. This was really fun.
Absolutely.
It was really great to have you both. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Good luck with the rest of it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Mary.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Right,
bye, David.
Okay, folks. So we have two more slots open. We have two more publishers coming to talk to us today. I just wanted to remind folks really quickly again about the giveaway from Tor Nightfire. It is for The House at the End of Needless Street by Catriona Ward. The Tor is giving away 25 ARC copies of those books. If you want to be in the running, it's a first come, first serve thing. If you want to have a chance to win one of those ARC copies of the book, then just email us your name and your mailing address to info@buzzbookexpo.com. Okay. And we will be back in about 10 minutes with John Beltisberger and his publishing company, Madness Heart Press. We're looking forward to hearing what he's got. Hi, everyone. Our next publisher that we're going to bring in is John Baltisberger with Madness Heart Press, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Hi, John. How you doing?
Desperately looking
want.
for them. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's just desperately looking for the unmute button.
I know we keep doing that too because we have, in order to make everything run smoothly, we have two computers, and it's a matter of muting and unmuting. And yeah, I hear you. So I'm not going to keep you too long. I just want to remind folks, if you have any questions for John, post them in the chat, tag them with the word question. We'll get them up on the screen. And he's going to be doing some cover reveal, so we'll have some cool things to see. And I will step back and let you do your thing.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here. I had a busy weekend. I officiated a wedding for the first time, and so like the first half of my weekend, I was planning that, and then this morning I started cleaning the house, and was like, wait a second, don't I need to like promote and tell everyone about all the cool stuff we're doing? So I'm a little more slapdash than I always want to be, but we have a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipeline for the rest of this year. Starting this month in about 10 days on the 15th. I look at the calendar as if I don't know my own dates, but we have UPD, the Unnatural Perpetrator Department, Texas Case Files, 1.1 through 1.3 dropping. That is our first foray into young adult horror. I often describe it as being Supernatural meets Criminal Minds. Basically, myself and Reed Alexander write these books, and then we hand it to an editor and tell them, like, take out the profanity and tone down the violence to the point where you would let your kid read this. We're very excited about it. It's a cool series. In October, we have a book from Paul Lubachewski coming out called The Wild Witches of West Virginia, which is going to be kind of his whole comedy horror mix. We're really excited about that. November, a book I'm extremely excited about. We do have a cover for this one. The Giant Robots of Babel by Max Bauman. What not everyone knows is that Madness Heart Press has a imprint called Gotta Try It that we do Jewish speculative fiction, bizarro, and horror. And there's the new cover coming up so soon. Anyway, Max Bauman, who's an amazing bizarro writer, a great author, and obviously Jewish, wrote this book, and I would describe it as the Torah meets Evangelion, the anime with the big robots, Big O, Evangelion, that sort of thing. It's very cool, very excited. We have a poetry book from Robert Dean called Snake in the Garden. That will be our fourth collection of poetry. And this is really exciting to me personally. We're going to be releasing our first book of stage plays by Ben Arzadi. It's called Plays/Hauntologies. It's very cool. It's something I wanted to do. It's I often say that Madness Heart Press, our goal is really to put out stuff that other publishers may be a little nervous to do. There's a big home for extreme publishers like Razorhead do amazing job with Bizarro, but there's still like poetry and plays and other forms of horror literature that not a lot of people are touching, and it gives me a lot of joy to be able to bring those out to the forefront. For 2022, we do have our calendar mapped out. We have a little bizarro book from Douglas Ford called Little Lugosi, a epic poetry collection called Caligula from John Garland Wells. It's going to be a kind of horrific, poetic take on the life and times of Caligula. something, again, I'm just really stoked to do something that bizarre and out there. We are going to put out our third book of Zev, which is our urban fantasy splatter Jewish book series about a Jewish exorcist in Austin, Texas. And in October, we're working with TJ Tranchell for the Lamentations of the Black Hawk trilogy in a single hardbound book. We're essentially doing like a collector's edition of the series. Speaking of series, we're launching 3 new series next year in 2022. The first is the nonfiction reference series. It's part satire, part horror, part it makes me laugh. But right now we have a anthology called the Madness Heart Press. I'm looking down this way because my notes are here. I'm not just avoiding you all. We have the Madness Heart Press Employee and Handbook. That was an invited anthology. We have authors like Christine Morgan, Max Booth, Andrew Hilbert. Jeff Strand is doing a section. We have a lot of great authors, a lot of bigger names working on this and putting together this handbook for working for us here at Madness Heart Press, which you definitely want to do, and it's not dangerous at all, and hardly anyone ever dies. Our second nonfiction offering is going to be the course catalog for Nefallen University. It is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a course catalog for a Lovecraftian Eldritch Horror University in Central Texas. This was pitched kind of out into the ether by Matthew Henshaw, and I love the idea, so I picked it up, and we have been working together to bring this thing to life. And it was an open call for kind of flash fiction, and it's going to be coming out sometime in 2022. We're very excited about it. And to kind of see where we can go with this nonfiction satire series of probably chapbooks and smaller books. We are also going to be doing a exclusive series on Godless, the digital distributor of horror. And that is going to be Christine Morgan, who has all of this great pulp horror and pulp action and just kind of bizarre, pulpy literature out. So we're going to be putting out, I want to say, 4 separate volumes of pulp fantasy and pulp horror from Christine Morgan. And finally, I know I've already mentioned 2, but we have one last series that this is the first time announcing it. So worldwide announcement exclusive. We are starting a series called Blood Sports, which is going to be splatter, punk, extreme horror stories about sports. This series was initially pitched to me by Lucas Mangum, who is writing his own wrestling novel called Blade Job right now. I have a little bit of obviously I have an inside scope on it, but it's awesome. It's very cool. We have Susan Snyder, who is a huge NFL football fan. We've in talks with Wesley Southard, who loves hockey, and Armand Rosamilia, who obviously, like, when he's not writing, he's watching baseball. So we're very, very excited about Blood Sports and to see where it can go and how it strikes everyone's fancy, because we kind of feel that sports are all because we're all, a bunch of nerdy, bookish people. Sometimes we forget that sports lovers really enjoy horror and reading as well. So hopefully this is going to find a new home and a welcome in the industry. But yeah, that's what we have coming for the next a year and a half. I spoke way too quickly.
That's okay. I was going to say that sounds like a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun book cover. Yeah, a lot of great book covers. We loved it. We love having book covers because I feel like it really connects with people when we see the book covers. I'm going to start some questions off. So again, remind everybody, if you have any questions, or anything that you want to ask about, post it in the comments. Tag it with the word question so that we can see it and get it up there. We've been asking publishers all weekend, and we've been getting some really great answers about two things. So I guess it's two different questions. One of them would be what your dream project is. If money's not an option, if obstacles were not in your way, what would you like to do? And then the other question is and I especially bring this up because it sounds like you like to do a lot of types of books that we don't often get to see. Oh, I guess now I'm going into three questions. We don't get things that you don't get to see very often, like plays, like horror plays. I guess, is there a type of thing that you'd like to start doing with Madness Heart Press that in the vein of plays and stuff that we don't often get to see? And let's start there, and then because I don't want to overload you with questions, we'll start there, and then I'll come back again.
Okay, so let me start by saying that my intro into splatter media was William Shakespeare, Titus Andronicus. My first reading of Clive Barker was actually his books of plays, History of the Devil, Frankenstein, and Love. I was a theater major, so plays are really something that sing to me. That said, poetry and plays, they don't have as big of a market. Part of that is because as a society, we've kind of put those as either not visceral media, or we've said, okay, these are elitist, or, people got ruined for those kind of medias in high school where it's like, well, I hated Hamlet, so I'm not going to check out any more plays. And part of my dream really is to reintroduce these art forms, especially to the horror community, and say, like, no, this is us too. We can do this. We can do this and have fun with this. I forgot the first question, but the as far as the second question goes is, yeah, plays, poetry. If I can, I don't know that I would publish screenplays. I really want to see people writing screenplays actually, going out and selling those and getting their movies made. But honestly, if there's a literary form that you feel is underrepresented, you shoot me a DM on Twitter and let me know, like, hey, there's this thing that no one else is doing, I'm doing. Would you be interested in it? The answer is probably yes. I think your first question was, if money wasn't an issue, what would my dream project be? I love collections and series. And if I could just have like that wall of like hardback, beautiful, engraved book plate, specifically, I would want to, honest to God, I would love to do a reprint, like hardback series of all the books and stories that have ever won a Splatterpunk award. Just like collector's edition, beautiful. Maybe even the nominees too. Just again, if money's not an issue, let me go crazy. Just to glorify this subgenre. That'd be wild and make me very happy.
I'd love to see that. Honestly, I know how much work goes into Killer Con and the Splatterpunk Awards, and I think that would be really great to have something where we're basically acknowledging the beauty of prose for a type of prose that people don't necessarily always associate with beauty. I think that would be really cool.
Absolutely.
And then you mentioned something about the engraved book plates, which leads to the next question that I have, because we've been asking folks too about unique and interesting marketing and packaging that either they have tried or would like to try. And we're trying anything from like free swag to, limited edition, reader packages to little figurines, whatever the case is there anything that you have done or would maybe like to do in that vein, that just ideas that separate Madness Heart Press books in readers' minds and gets their attention?
Right. So we sell buttons. I make buttons of our covers and little kitschy phrases like support local horror, celebrate Jewish horror, things like that. I also do, you can kind of see it, signed book plates. This is Christine Morgan that we sent out for her book, Trenchmouth. When you're doing small press print on demand, you can't always get books to the author and then to the customer. So what I've started doing was, if you order it from our website, pre-order, you get the book in the mail, and then I send you a book plate for you to add, so you can have a signed book a little easier. I think this one might be, no, that one's. And so I think signed Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, Max Booth and Lori turned me on to this, and I think it's a fantastic idea because I love signed books. And I do the buttons, obviously bookmarks. We have Madness Heart Press stickers. We have the shirts and stuff that are sold through fastcustomshirts.com. Joe Garcia, who does the KillerCon shirts, does, I want to say, 3 different Madness Heart Press shirts. It's this one, the All Men Are Trash shirt, which I get a lot of comments on, and Broken Nails shirt. And then what I would love to do, I think, I want to say Wiley E. Young already does this. I would love to 3D print figures, antagonists or protagonists from books. I designed one of myself for my own author table that I was going to hand paint and have all these little miniature John Baldisbergers that people could, buy 5 books, you get a little John that stands above you and judges you while you read. I think we realized fairly early in our existence as a publisher that doing live events is really hit or miss. Some events we bank. Some events we sit there for 12 hours and sell a book while we watch someone with little kitschy stuff across the way make lots of money. And so we realized we need something that can bring people in other than books, which is heartbreaking, but is the way it is. And it's not always the event you expect it to be. Sometimes you expect things to be bangers and they're duds, and sometimes you show up and okay, let's just get this over with, and then you run into all these great fans and sell out of books. So, but yeah, little figurines is what I want to do. Oh, I will say, this may happen in the future. We were going to crochet little anatomical hearts like our logo.
Oh,
and sell those. And my wife crochets, and we're watching a thing, and she's I think she spent a solid week just making a ventricle. I was like, this is not time cost effective.
Oh, it's a cute idea though.
Maybe in the future we'll try again, but yeah.
I love the idea of figurines. Wiley Young has showed me the little clickers ones that he's doing. I also, it's funny that you mentioned the little kitschy stuff, because I was having this conversation actually with some other writers last weekend about this very thing, about how it's one thing if you're at, say, a book fair where people are there for books, but if you're at a horror themed convention where the focus generally tends to be on movie actors and things like that, they also, the movie actor fan group and the collector fan group, there seems to be a major overlap. And that finding other little things to put on the table to sell or give away seems to be an idea. But I'm glad to hear you say that, because we were discussing whether or not that might be the case. I mean, it's unfortunate that you can't sell just based on books alone.
I have heard I don't read. at
Yeah.
more horror movie things than anywhere else. And Christine Morgan makes little like toys based on her
Yes.
books, and she gets great sell through. Lori makes things. I don't know what she makes, but Max told me she makes things and they sell really well. I see crocheted Cthulhu's everywhere. The point is, the more variety of stuff you have on your table, the better you're going to do. For us, we have a big coffin shaped guitar case. We have all these big like
Oh,
crystal
cool.
sculpts that people can't buy them, but like they see it and they're like, oh, what? Why? What? They're a coffin. Let me go see what this is. And at least that starts the conversation. But
Right.
I find if you have like buy 2 books, you get this tchotchke. You're way more likely to sell 2 books than like. Sure, that button costs $1, but they can get it for free if they give me $10.
Right. Exactly. And that's the interesting thing. Now, how do you feel that something like T-shirt sells?
So I work with a T-shirt company called Paul Bearer Press, and it's different crowd. It's just like they do like necromantic shirts and like these really grisly cult horror movie T-shirts and some more mainstream. And based on the show, they'll do $500 in an afternoon, and I'll sell 4 books, or I'll sell $300 worth of books, and they'll sell 2 shirts.
Right.
It seems to be a different buyer base. Obviously, I like half of my hats have come from horror shows. I collect hats, but that again, they would probably just like I would be drawn in by the hats, and then I'd buy 8 books.
Right.
It's just a different. I'm not saying obviously we all wear shirts, most of us. Some of us against our will, but I've noticed that people tend to either books or buy shirts. It's not usually both.
Right.
The main people walking around in Manus Art Press swag, and I love. Hey, if you do it, I love you for it. Tend to be authors who have worked with us.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I think that publishers, as I said before, I think there's a sort of a push to find new ways to get people to buy books. And I guess it brings up another question, and then I'll pop out so other people can ask some questions too, of multimedia type projects. It occurs to me that might be the direction that storytelling is going, that books may be a more, not the book itself being a collaborative effort, but the way it's presented to the world might become something more of a multimedia thing. What do you think about that? Do you see that maybe that's the direction that publishing is going? Or do you think that it might go a different direction?
Sure. So first, let me say that last month I sold like 20 copies of Trenchmouth physical through Amazon. And I sold over like 300 copies digitally. I'm making up numbers because I don't want to, show you how the sausage is made. But my point is that as much as I hear people railing against digital books and saying they want to smell the book and hold the book, like ebooks sell really, really well. That said, I know a lot of authors that put a lot of art in their books. I've done some of that, and I've never seen it sell. I've never seen books with art sell better than books without art. Audiobooks do well, but again, it tends to be different audiences. The people that really love audiobooks tend to have a lot of downtime where they're doing something where they can't hold a book but they can listen to one. The guy who runs our social medias has terrible eyesight, so he only does audiobooks. On the other hand, the people who buy ebooks and physical books tend to be in a situation where there's my bulldog. They tend to not have a space where they can just listen, but they have time where they can sit. So, multimedia sounds great. And I think that multimedia storytelling is fantastic, but let's use podcasts for an example, right? Like podcasts everyone has a podcast. That's not my bulldog. That's my daughter. They're different animals. But the fact is that everyone has a podcast. Not everyone has listeners. I don't think necessarily that the goal should be to figure out where the trend is. I think for me, the goal is to shotgun blast across as many formats as we can so that whatever format you enjoy consuming your media in, we have our story available in that format. When I first started Madness Heart Press, I was like, we're just going to do just digital publisher. And within like 2 books, it's like, we need to publish books physically because people want physical books. And then shortly after that, it's like, we should probably do audiobooks. And, obviously I don't have the budget to start producing films of our books yet. But like I said, the more forms of media you can get your stories into, the more people that get to interact with your stories and become familiar with your creative output. And that is a net positive, in my opinion.
I think you raise a really good point there, John, about having the book available in multiple formats. It's a good point though that the different media formats tend to appeal to different audiences, and so if you had one thing that combined, like if it was one story in one format that combined multiple media, you might it might be like a hit or miss kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's a good point, that it should be available in multiple formats. It's something for writers to consider. It's also something I think that's interesting for readers and book reviewers and things like that to consider, that publishers are out there doing that for them. So
yeah.
If there's any final questions, I know the chat is a little bit behind where we are. So if there's any final questions, let us know. We'll give it a couple of minutes.
Okay. And
go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to plug. You can drop a line to us on Twitter at MHP_horror. Horror. I work in the horror industry. I can't say it.
It's funny. I'm from New Jersey, so we say horror, and everybody else says horror. And for the longest time, I kept thinking that they were saying horror. It just threw me all off.
Every time. Like, oh yeah, I write horror books.
Mm-hmm. Like, do you now?
I do. I go to a lot of horror conventions. It's great.
Good chat. Oh, we do have a question popping up here. I'm just gonna put it on screen for you.
What do I think of DRM? Okay, on one hand, I don't want anyone pirating any of the books we write. I want to pay our authors, right? On the other hand, I want to be able to sell through as many markets as possible. Now, obviously, Amazon and Kindle are the main markets. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me and say, like, no, Nook is where all the books are and where you make real money. However, like, I don't use Kindle Unlimited. I don't put any of our books or my books on Kindle Unlimited because I want to be able to sell my books on my Madness Heart Press website. I want to sell my books on Godless. I want to make them available wherever readers are. And again, I'm going to use Christine Morgan as a good example here. I've sold hundreds upon hundreds of her book on Kindle. No one has yet complained that they had to pay for it. And then I, in turn, get to pay her. So I want to protect people, but I want to make stories available first and foremost. It's important to pay my authors and to make sure they are getting they have as much access as possible. The other thing I will say, and this isn't about DRM, I hope that answers your question. The other thing I'll say is we will be accepting pitches for 2023 starting in February of 2022. Novellas, novels, books of plays, poetry, whatever you have. The only thing we don't do is single author short story collections. So other than that, I'd love to see your pitches at that time. If you follow us on Twitter, you can see it there. You can also follow me on Twitter at Kaiju Poet, and I tend to repost everything we're doing at Madness Heart Press because I'm a stooge for my own company. I guess I don't. You know what? It was a good joke when I thought of it. It just didn't come out right. I'm very funny. I promise you.
You are
Take anything
very
away. You take anything away from this, I'm very smart and very handsome.
Just the whole package, John. Just the whole
Absolutely.
package. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on BuzzBook Expo Live, and we really enjoyed having you. And I think you're doing some great stuff here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and I'll let you go. Take
All
care.
right. Bye-bye.
Lucas popped a question at the last day.
Okay, folks. So we have a final presentation from Apex Books, which is going to be in about 10 minutes. And so in the meantime, take a bathroom break, grab another tea, and we will see you in about 10 minutes.
Some songs stick in your head. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul. Others consume your soul.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. We now have Jason from Apex, and he's going to tell us all about what's going on. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. It's been too long.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully soon we'll have events in person again. So, anyway, I won't take up too much time. Just reminding folks again, if you have any questions for Jason or about Apex books or anything, post them in the comment section. Tag them with questions, and we will make sure we get them up for you. And take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Mary. First, like to apologize for not being here yesterday. I guess I had a bit of a brain blackout. Sorry about that, Mary. And to the folks who was hoping to hear about Apex stuff yesterday, hopefully I can make up for that today. Thank you to Mary and the Buzz Book Expo for giving me this opportunity to tell you about our upcoming releases. I think we have some exciting books coming out and even some exciting stuff that I think will be of interest to horror readers and just genre fans in general from our magazine. A little bit about myself. I'm Jason Sizemore, editor and publisher of Apex Publications. We are based in Lexington, Kentucky. We have been in business since 2005. It was started in a fit of early what you could call an early midlife crisis. I was around 30 and decided I really had to have some way to be a creative and also do something that would make a positive in the world. And I had friends who ran a genre zine, and at the time I thought, hey, why not? I can do that. Just like anyone who starts a small press or a zine these days. It's usually out of a need to express their ambitions and philosophy on people, whether they're prepared professionally or not. And I certainly was. I started out very green. Hopefully, 16 years later, here I am, and hopefully, I am doing a lot better than way back in '05. So, over those 16 years, we have published over 80 books and 137 issues of Apex Magazine, or Apex Digest, as it was known way back in the old days. We've published books by a whole bunch of notable writers, both in small press and big house New York publishing. Authors like Brian Keene, Christy DeMister, Damian Angelica Walters, Wrath James White, Gary A. Brunback, Michael Weehunt, James Newman, Nate Kenyon, Tim Wagner. I guess I better throw Maurice Broaddus in there in case he's watching. Apex is a 3-time Hugo Award nominee. Our fiction has actually won the Hugo multiple times, the Nebula, and has been nominated numerous times for the World Fantasy Award and the Stoker Award. My dream one day is to win one of those really cool Stoker Award haunted house prizes. Oh my gosh. I saw Tim Wagner's recently and was just very jealous. So we have a fairly active publication schedule coming up, especially for us, as we only normally do 5 or 6 books a year, along with the magazine. We publish multi-genre titles that usually have their toes dipped in dark sci-fi, dark fantasy, and or horror. Our next book that is coming out on September 21st is Plague Birds by Jason Sanford. You may know Jason as a fairly prolific science fiction writer, and this is his debut novel. And, with fantastic cover art by Marcela Bolivar. And I describe this as a post-human, far-future dystopia. In the book, AI have become the caretakers of what remains of humanity. The title refers to the wandering judges called plague birds, and the cover features the protagonist, who is a plague bird. They're wandering judges who travel from village to village to exercise judgment on those accused of crimes. Most of the time, the plague bird judgment is cruel and swift. Our protagonist, Krista, and is a newly created plague bird, and Red Day is the nanomachine AI entity that co-inhabits Krista's body. Together, they discover the potential existence of a rogue plague bird and goes on a journey that uncovers the dark and winding history of humanity and artificial intelligence. Like I said, that comes out on September 21st. Pre-orders are available now and includes an author signed book cover plate. And this is not just the front, it's the entire jacket. I thought it would be cool to do the whole jacket. This is my first time doing signed plates with a book, and it did not occur to me that the reason publishers do the smaller plates is because you can slip them in the book and they're a lot easier to ship. So it's a learning experience for me for doing this kind of collectible with a pre-order, but it will be a really cool one at least. And you know what? If you only want the front half, you can get one of those cardboard cutter things and take the. Not that I would want you to mess up your really cool book cover plate, but anyway. So coming in December, we have. Let me grab the beautiful cover art here. Shattersteel by Benjamin Sriduenkoe. And like every other time I have tried to say her name, I apologize to B for really trashing the pronunciation. I do try to get it as close as possible, but anyway, B is what she goes by. And this is the final book in her pitiless the series is called Her Pitiless Command, not B's Pitiless Command. And the previous two books in the series were very well received and have been great sellers for us. Winter Glass. With wonderful cover art. I think this is by Anna Dittman, who's done the cover art for all three of the titles. The sequel, Mirror Strike. And I don't have the jacket design just yet, but we will soon. And I do have the cover art. Isn't that incredible? This is just a printed on laser printer paper, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So this series was inspired behind Christian Andersen's fairy tale, The Snow Queen, as the villain in the story is the Winter Queen, who turns the protagonist's homeland from a verdant tropical setting into, obviously ice, snow, frozen stuff. Yes, the series came out way before Frozen, the movie. And the author kind of described it as a fantasy dark sci-fi story about one woman's love for her homeland and her determination to defeat the Winter Queen who has overtaken the land. And I would completely agree with that. The third book, fine. Well, I'll tell you what, let me read the synopsis on the first book. At the city-state Siripirat once knew only warmth and monsoon. When the Winter Queen conquered it, she remade the land in her image, turning Siripirat into a country of snow and unending frost. But an empire is not her only goal. In secret, she seeks the fragments of a mirror whose power will grant her deepest desire. At her right hand is General Lasad, who bears a mirror shard in her heart. As loyal to Winter as she is, plagued by her past as a traitor to her country. Tasked with locating other glass bearers, she finds one in Nuwa, an insurgent who's forged her staff into a weapon that will strike down the Queen. To earn her place in the Queen's army, Nuwa must enter a deadly tournament where the loser's souls are given in service to Winter. To free Sarah Parat, she is prepared to make sacrifices, though she loves herself and the complicated bond slowly forming between her and Lasat. If the splinter glass in Nuwa's heart doesn't destroy her first. And so the third book, of course, is a culmination of all that, and it's B often writes with very flowery, purple kind of elevated prose. That's kind of toned down in the series. It's very creative, Far East type of a fairy tale, and it's got a very unique voice. And anyone who likes a good dark fantasy story, I think, would absolutely enjoy Shatter Steel and the two books that come before it, as they are certainly written in a way that makes them stand alone as well. So this one comes out in mid-December, and pre-orders will open in the next week or two, as soon as I get the jacket from the designer. All right. The next book that we have planned is also the conclusion of a trilogy. This is Curse of the Bastards by the infamous duo of Ryan Keene and Stephen L. Shrewsbury. Two of my favorite people. The first two books in the series were King of the Bastards. And Throne of the Bastards. There we go. I do have cover art for this one, but I don't have it printed. And we are working on getting the final jacket and having it to show off here in the next month or so. These books are a dark and exciting grimdark series about Rogan, who has been many things in his life: mercenary, reaver, and King. In Curse of the Bastards, we find Rogan as an aging, jaded barbarian who meets the redheaded daughter of his childhood idol and is forced to partner with her to rescue his nephew from what he knows is a trap. Along the way, he faces strange monsters, demons, and wizards with dark schemes, and he must ultimately face the truth about his own god. Um, this one is due out in early 2022, probably more towards the end of the first quarter, early second quarter. This book has been in the planning stages of publication for several years. I'm not, this stuff keeps happening every time I want to publish it. Maybe Shrewsbury has cursed me or something. First, it was health issues, and then we had the COVID thing, which pushed it back. But yeah, it is going to finally see publication in 2022, and we will get the thrilling conclusion to that bastard Rogan and his adventures with his nephew. Yeah, I look forward to making that one available to everyone. It's a fun book. So further down the road, we have some collections I'm very excited about. We have Future Artifacts coming out by Cameron Hurley, which is, as mentioned, a collection of dark SF short fiction. Cameron is an award-winning author and trained historian specializing in the future of war and resistance movements. So you definitely see that in much of the stuff she writes. Personally, I gobble up fiction like that. So when Cameron and her agent approached me about the collection, I was very excited. Her books include The Light Brigade, The Stars of Legion, one of my favorites, the God's War trilogy, among others. Her first short story collection, Meet Me in the Future, was published by Tachyon in 2019, and Future Artifacts will be her second short fiction collection and will be comprised of 18 stories, many of which were previously only available through her Patreon. So if you're not backing her Patreon, well, you probably should. But if you're not, most of this will be brand new material to you. This one is another one we hope to have in the first quarter of 2022 or early quarter 2022. It will come after Curse of the Bastards. The other collection I'm excited to share is Zen and the Art of Starship Maintenance and Other Stories by Tobias S. Buckell. Just getting to publish Tobias is always a fantastic feeling, as he is such a great writer and such a good guy, and just someone you just can't help but like. And his fiction is equally as impressive as the person. So I was very pleased to be able to sign Tobias and publish an entire book by him. For me, it's a great feeling professionally. Tobias S. Buckell is a New York Times best-selling and World Fantasy Award-winning author born in the Caribbean. He grew up in Grenada and spent time in the British and U.S. Virgin Islands, which influences much of his work. His novels and over 70 stories have been translated into 19 different languages. His work has been nominated for the Hugo Award, Nebula Award, World Fantasy Award, and the Astounding Award for Best New Science Fiction Author. And I'm going to grab me a sip of Go Juice. Clear my throat. Zen and the Art of Starship Maintenance and Other Stories is Tobias Harris's seventh. He's very prolific. Short fiction collection is comprised of 15 stories, several which are original to the collection or were previously only available through his Patreon. We plan to release this collection later in the second quarter of 2022. I would like to add as well that we bought the reprint rights to his 4-book Xenowealth series, which includes, Sly Mongoose and Ragamuffin. And the plan for those right now is hopefully towards the end of 2022. I'd like to release all 4 books in consecutive months or every 2 months, but we'll see how our resources and COVID is letting the world go on. And finally, I'd like to talk to the viewers about Apex Magazine. Granted, it's probably the thing that I'm most known for, and Apex is most known for. But I imagine a lot of the viewers here are fans of darker literature and horror. And I often feel like because we're seen as a sci-fi publication, fans of horror and darker materials often forget that we exist and overlook some of the great work we're releasing. So I am here to tell you that if you like horror, then Apex Magazine is probably going to be right up your alley. I will read this prepared statement. Apex Magazine is well known for its dark SF, but the stories we publish definitely have strong horror elements. 2 of my favorite movies are Alien and Carpenter's The Thing, and this is reflected in the type of fiction we publish in the zine. Coming on September 7th is issue 125 of Apex Magazine. 2 notable stories appearing in this issue are Cottonmouth, which is what I'm having right now, by Joelle Wellington, and Gift for the Cutterman by D. Thomas Minton. Cottonmouth is a wicked piece of Southern Gothic horror about a beautiful black witch enslaved in the attic of a preacher's plantation home. Gift for the Cutterman is a dystopian body horror where food and resources are scarce. Both are about as gritty and realistic as you might imagine, and very deep within the horror genre. Funded by a Kickstarter and technically a bonus issue of the magazine, issue 126 coming in October is a showcase for Indigenous futurists, as guest edited by Allison Mills, who has in her heritage, she's from Cree Nation, and she's done a great job of highlighting work by other Indigenous writers such as Pamela Rentz, Kevin Wabonis, Ted Van Alst, Norris Black, and Jesse Lawyer. Very proud to be producing this one. Some of the very best speculative fiction being written right now is from Indigenous authors. And our December issue is another showcase issue, and this time it's for International Futurist and is guest edited by Italian editor and novelist Francesco Verso. I would name the table of contents, but it has, I don't want to do the authors the service butchering their names like I did these. So if you want to know, you can go to our website. So to wrap, thank you for the opportunity to share our coming titles and plans with you. You can visit us online at apexbookcompany.com and apex-magazine.com. It's important to have a little dash in there. Apex is all over social media, though we're most active on Twitter at Apex Book Company and at Apex Mag, APEXMAG. Thank you to the viewers, the Buzz Book Expo, and Mary and Summer for being such wonderful hosts and giving me this opportunity. And I hope that you check out some Apex stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason, for being on Buzz Book Expo. We really enjoyed having you. This was great. This is really great to hear all the cool stuff that you have coming out. And I'm glad that you talked about the genre blends, like the dark sci-fi, dark fantasy, because I wanted to make sure that that kind of writing was included in BuzzBook. And it's cool to hear that, there's so much neat stuff in that vein coming out, so I'm glad to hear. So thank you again for being
my pleasure. And yeah, the multi-genre stuff is kind of our wheelhouse. And so if you like getting a little uncomfortable with your fiction, I think you'll really like some of the stuff that we have coming.
That's so great. I'm so excited. Okay, well, take care, Jason. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, so to wrap up for BuzzBook Expo, I wanted to again thank my committee, Summer Cannon and Matt Wilderson, for all the hard work that they put into making this run, period, and keeping things going and keeping track of me when I am going off the rails. So I wanted to thank them for being a part of this, and thank all the publishers who've participated over the last 2 days. You have some really great stuff coming out, and it's been an honor to be able to share those things with readers and podcasters and reviewers and bookstore folks and everybody who just loves horror books as much as we do. And finally, I want to thank the audience for participating, for asking some great questions, and for being here and being so supportive the last 2 days. Thank you. This was really great, and we'll see you next year.